Hello folks, my name is Mark and this is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? And now it's time for another things I do not care about. So let's just jump right into it. Start with a little bit of entertainment news. The Sonic the Hedgehog movie looks like a total nightmare. I don't know if you guys haven't seen this, but they've only released 2 images so far of what it's going to be, two like posters, right? And the fans for Sonic the Hedgehog are losing their minds, and it's because he looks like ass. He looks horrible. I don't know if you haven't seen it, go do a Google and check it out. But basically, he's like this. They gave him like real hair, and it's like he's got like these hairy arms and legs and stuff. And it's like, it just looks like this weird little kind of blue troll kind of thing, and it's gonna be hard. I mean, your first problem is creating a live action Sonic the Hedgehog to begin with. I mean, come on, man, what are you, fucking crazy? So I don't know, they should have just made it like a Pixar movie or something. It would have been way better. But anyway, yeah, it's gonna suck. Let's see, what else happened? Let's see, Gavin McInnes and Michelle Malkin both lost their TV shows. Good, because screw those people. So the story behind that is basically The Blaze is merging with CRTV. So The Blaze is Glenn Beck's show. Well, Glenn Beck's network, basically, where he wanted to like challenge Fox, right? And that crashed and burned, and is hitting bankruptcy, right? So it's basically got bought out by CRTV, and during this process, they decided not to renew Gavin McInnes and Michelle Malkin. Which is good, because those 2 people are like horrible. They're horrible fucking people. Michelle Malkin's a complete insane person, and Gavin McInnes started a fucking hate group. I mean, come on, man. Now, here's the thing, right? So I was gonna make a video about this, but I don't know. So anyway, he starts this group called the Proud Boys, right? Which is like, yeah, it's not a racist hate group, although there is a lot of racism seemingly with its members and shit. But, there are people in it who are like black and Asian. There are non-whites who are in this group, right? So what it seems to be is a misogynist hate group. Basically an anti-women, anti-gay, especially anti-gay group, right? In fact, one of their tenets to join or whatever is that you have to go and beat up someone like part of Antifa. Is what you have to do. You have to go beat up somebody out of Antifa, right? In order to be a full-fledged member or whatever. So they've gotten this reputation for violence. Basically, there was a video last month, I think, where they basically went and, like 10 of them went and beat up these 2 guys in New York City after a speech that, Gavin McInnes gave, right? So what he's doing is that he tried to distance himself from these people, right? Because it seems like he started this thing as like a joke, and it just turned into this fucking rabid this rabid fucking hate group filled with a bunch of violent psychopaths. So then he quits, he like resigns, says, I'm distancing myself from the Proud Boys, not gonna have anything to do with them, and all that shit, and it's not working, right? Because fuck him, because I'm happy. I mean, that's the thing, is that if there's anybody on this earth who deserves to be deplatformed, it's Gavin McInnes. The guy's a fucking dick. He's a fucking dick. And he's like, there was a story a little while ago where he like was complaining that his neighbors are like ostracizing him. Like apparently there's like these a couple of his neighbors have put like anti-hate signs in their yards. And he wrote them letters to try to get them to take it down, because it's like humiliating him, right? Because he's trying to like clean up his image, because apparently he can't get any work, Like, this is how these people make money, besides like they either have radio shows or something, right? But the other way they make money is they get paid to make speeches, right? And nobody is booking him. No one is allowing him to be booked at their venues, because he has this reputation as a fucking, as leading a fucking hate group. So, seriously, fuck Gavin McInnes. I don't feel bad for this guy at all. Right? Seriously, man, you had, a huge audience, right? Thousands of people tuning into you every day. You used it to like stoke hatred. Okay, so you deserve everything that fucking happens to you. Let's see, what else is happening? Some more politics. The Alexandria OcasioCortez got caught dancing. That was, apparently supposed to be a scandal or something. So if you don't know what's happening with this, there was a guy on Twitter who was like part of the QAnon conspiracy theory. He had like a name like QAnon 420 or some shit like that, right? He finds this video of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez dancing in college, right? Which is like, 2010. And it was part of a promotional video that she made for the college where she was with a bunch of people and they were dancing, they were reenacting the dancing scene from The Breakfast Club, right? So this guy takes that scene, cuts out everybody else, and then recuts it with some really, really shitty music, which like basically he got off the internet someplace, and then put it on Twitter and tried to make it look like she was like some kind of attention whore or something. I'm not even really sure. Like it was like he put it on and he said, here she is acting like crazy or whatever, like she is, something like that. Here she is acting like a ditz or whatever, basically trying to make her look stupid, and it backfired like crazy. And this guy ended up like, he got so much hate that he had to like shut down his Twitter account and stuff. Right? And it's like, what was the point of that? What were you trying to make her? Were you trying to make her look dumb? I mean, by dancing? Like, what, people aren't allowed to fucking dance, And here's the thing about it is that she's so cool that when this happened, she made another video where she like was actually getting sworn in, and she like did a little dance to like, that song War, right? Which is like basically just rubbing it in this dude's face, good, because fuck this guy. See, here's the thing, right? People like her, there's another person, Rashida Tlaib was another congresswoman. She actually called Trump a motherfucker, right? I don't know if you remember that. He, when she got sworn in, she said something like, let's impeach this motherfucker, right? And, the right wing just all got crazy and they're clutching their pearls and stuff. And it's like, here's the thing about this, right? What they're trying to do to these the progressives in Congress, what they're trying to do is they're trying to smear them, right? Before anything that they say becomes too popular. See, because people like Rashida Tlaib and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders and stuff, and Elizabeth Warren, they have ideas which are very infectious. It's very, the idea that you can get healthcare, right? The idea that we're going to tax the super duper wealthy in order to pay for social programs that we should have been paying for this whole time. Those are very popular ideas. And the right wing doesn't want those ideas to take root in the American subconscious, because if they do, right, then people are going to start liking them and they're going to start wanting them, and one of these days they're going to happen. And they don't want, so they're trying to smear all the people who bring these ideas up, the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. They're trying to smear them, but they can't actually do it by criticizing the things they say, because the things they say are extremely popular. So they have to do it in other ways. They have to try to make them look nutty. They have to try to make them sound like they're hypocrites, things like that, So there was another smear against Bernie Sanders, where apparently some people complained in his campaign about, sexism or something. They're trying to smear him and make him look like this big time fucking sexist. And it's like, and then in real life, they are guilty of all the shit that they're trying to smear the Democrats for. Rashida Tlaib calls Trump a motherfucker, right? And supposedly that's like bringing down the tone of our political process and all that. Well, Donald Trump is like, he's brought cyberbullying to a high art form, right? I mean, not only do we have him on video using this kind of language, right? Grab him by the pussy, things like that. Not only do we have him on video saying things that are like as bad or even worse than this, but he's like nobody can cyberbully better than Donald Trump. He had a little name for everybody during the campaign. I don't know if you remember, Lion Ted, low energy Jeb, shit like that, right? And then he'll just straight lie, and like I don't know if you remember, there was a story that came out like around last November where Elizabeth Warren went and got a DNA test, right? And showed that she had some Native American ancestry, right? And the whole thing behind it was that Donald Trump said that he would donate $1 million to charity if she came back and showed that she had Native American ancestry, right? So she goes and she does it. He turns around and says, "I never said that." And then they go, "Yes, you did." And you know what? He goes, "Who cares?" Right? And everybody forgets about it. See, because they don't care. See, that's how you know, he's brought that to such a high form where he can say shit like that, and he does it so much that no one gives a fuck. Well, they're trying to you know, that rule now is broken. You know, it used to be like that back in the day. It used to be a politician says something wrong once, they're out of there, you know. And my best example of that I like to bring up is when Howard Dean back in 2004 did the Primal Scream. I don't know if you remember that, but basically Howard Dean was like at a campaign rally, he's running for president, and he's like, you know, all excited and stuff, you know, we're gonna win, all this shit, and he goes, "Ah!" Right? Then he makes this kind of little scream, right? The media took that footage, they took that 5-second scream, they played it over and over and over and over again. I don't know if you guys, I mean, 2004 wasn't that long ago for, you know, I mean, what, 14 years, right? Basically, they tanked his campaign, and within a week, he was out. It was like, he went from, like, pretty high up in the polls to, like, you know, 1% in, like, a week. They basically made him look like a fool because he, like, made a funny noise, right? You know, the days of that shit, that's over with. That's not happening ever again. You know, like a little flub, right? Like that you can no longer, your campaign will no longer be trashed because you make a wrong noise at a campaign rally. Not when you have, you know, the president of the United States grabbing people by the pussy, right, and getting away with it. That shit's over with. Moving on, some more. Let's talk about the wall. So first off, there's this Kickstarter for the wall, right? Wow, that was in the news for a little while. Basically, they've given up, you know, the Republicans have given up on making Mexico pay for the wall now. So a guy who's like a Vietnam vet or something went and started a you know, group funding thing for the wall, and something like within a day got $4 million. And within a week got something like $16 million. And that's where it was at the last time I checked, which admittedly was a little while ago. So could be way higher than that. And it's just kind of funny. It's like, you know, they want this so bad. So they here's your chance. You know, if you really want to build a wall across the southern border, here's your chance. You can put your money where your mouth is. They need $5 billion, right? They got something like 16 million. So they have, like, you know, 1/2 of 1/10, not even that, like a little bit more, like 1.2% or something of, like, the entire thing. Like, they basically got enough to build, like, you know, enough wall for like 100 feet, right? And, you know, remember, this is supposed to be like a 2,000-mile frickin' border. So that kind of goes to show, like, how unpopular it actually is. I mean, I don't know what this guy's thinking, because even if the government could take the money, which I don't know if they can or not, I'm sure the government can accept donations, right? Even if that is the case, you know, and even if he, like, by some miracle were to raise $5 billion, right? And then, you know, the government was able to accept that, they still could not build the wall unless Congress allocates that money. That's what this whole government shutdown thing is all about. Doesn't matter, you know, does not matter if you have the funds. It's not getting built unless Congress decides it gets built, because Congress is where money gets allocated. They control the purse strings. The president cannot allocate money for anything. That is specifically not in the Constitution. All right. So it doesn't matter if Donald Trump wanted to build the wall himself. If he went and took his $5 billion, which he claims to have but doesn't really, and wanted to buy and build it, he couldn't do that. You know, he couldn't take his money, give it to the, you know, Department of the Interior or Homeland Security or whatever, and have them build the wall. Still not happening. So Anyway, speaking of the wall and all that shit, government is still shut down, you know? So if you're one of the 800,000 people who works for the federal government and you're not getting paid, I'm sorry, you know, tell it to Trump, right? You want a paycheck? Tell it to Trump, because, you know, I mean, even last night he had his little press conference thing, you know, his speech where he was going to like try to convince people about how we have this humanitarian crisis on the southern border. And even in that, you know, I only watched a couple of minutes of it. His heart wasn't into it. And apparently he was pissed off even before the speech started because he knew it was a shitty speech. Because he basically knows that he's going to lose and he's going to look like a moron, right? And each day that goes by, it's getting worse and worse. People are like, you know, suffering out there. And if this goes on for another couple of weeks, people's are going to be getting kicked out of their houses. Their houses are going to be foreclosed on, right? Their cars are going to be repossessed, something like that. Let's see what happens when that shit starts happening. Okay, who's going to cave first? I don't know. To be honest, I thought the Democrats were going to cave already. And, you know, Trump's not having a good time. In fact, he came on the next day, he went on Twitter and basically took it out on California. And I think I want to end with this. Basically goes on Twitter and says how he's not going to, you know, allow FEMA to give any more money for the victims of the California wildfires. Right? Because he needed something to rant at, you know. So look, what does this say? All right, what does this say about the guy? He goes on TV, he bombs horribly, right? People give him nothing but criticism. They're blaming him for the government shutdown that he said he would take ownership of, because really it's his fault. You know, they had a bill, he was going to sign the bill, then he decides not to sign it because, you know, Ann Coulter and Rush Limbaugh called him a baby. So now he's throwing a tantrum, and instead of everybody getting behind him like he thought, they're basically all fucking blaming him. Because he even came out, because, you know why? Because he said, I will take the responsibility. Well, guess what? You got the responsibility now. People are pissed, and they're pissed at him. And he's mad that his dumbass speech didn't do anything, so what's he do? He goes on and takes it out on California. So I don't even know really if any kind of policy has been enacted to stop people in California from getting money for the wildfire damage and shit, you know, from FEMA. But if he really does that, that's just a really despicable fucking thing to do. I mean, you know, I don't know if you watched my channel, you saw that my house was in danger of burning down because of those wildfires. I made a couple of videos on that. You know, this shit is no joke. I mean, there was a town upstate that the entire town, what was it, like Paradise or something like that? Like, the entire town was fucking burned down. Right. That shit's not funny, okay? And it kind of shows that if he's, like, so, like, petty and vindictive that he'll do this to California, why do you think, like, Texas or Alabama or some other place that has been recently hit by a natural disaster, why do you think that they're going to be any different? You know, what if, say, 2020, Texas doesn't vote for him, but by some miracle he still manages to remain president? Do you think he's going to, like, do the same thing to Texas, right? I mean, you know, the president, right, is supposed to represent everybody. He's supposed to care about everybody. Donald Trump does not, okay? After he becomes president, he goes and he visits the states that voted for him, right? That's all he fucking really gives a shit about. He doesn't care about you, right? He doesn't care about me. He doesn't care about the state that I live in. And he doesn't care about the people that work for him. And he doesn't care about the goddamn country. And if he did care about the country, the government wouldn't be shut down by now. So, right now. Anyway, the world's all fucked up. That's all I got, folks. Adios.